There are atheists who seem very pleased with themselves that they can talk some vaguely semi-religious person on the street into admitting that they have some small doubts. But is this really where we ought to be focusing our efforts? Let's talk about that next. This has come up a couple of times recently, where devotees of Anthony Magnabosco's book on street epistemology has come up and they tend to act like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Now, I remember many years ago when Peter Boghossian wrote a similar book called A Manual for Creating Atheists, which had a similar reaction to it, and I wasn't that impressed with that either. So I wanted to take a couple of minutes and explain why these methods really aren't all they're cracked up to be, and why, while they might work for the purposes advertised, they're certainly not the end-all be-all to wiping out religion. See, both methods have you going out on the quote-unquote street and talking to people at random. In fact, Anthony Magnabosco has a YouTube channel that I'll link to in the description, where he posts videos of talking to theists and employing his methodology. And I've watched maybe a half dozen or so of his videos, and they all follow the same pattern, just like Peter Boghossian's examples that he described in his book did. All of these encounters have one clear thing in common. They all go after the lowest of the low-hanging fruit, meaning they're going after people who are very vaguely religious, who aren't very knowledgeable about religion, and they probably haven't thought about their beliefs very hard. Now, if you think about it, the religious street preachers do effectively the same thing. They're just standing there, shouting their message into the void, hoping someone takes the bait. They're not looking for anyone who actually knows anything about atheism, who has studied philosophy and science, and certainly not anyone who knows anything about their religion. They want the most ignorant people they can find that they can bamboozle with their nonsense and hopefully get some converts. And yes, it works if that's all you're looking for. And I'm not trying to say that street epistemology is a scam. It does work for what you see anyone actually using it for. You take very weak theists and you plant some vague doubts in their heads, and hopefully, maybe someday, they might figure out that they have it all wrong. Who knows? And if that's all you're going for, more power to you, I guess. I really don't see it doing a lot of good. It seems to be more for the atheists so they can say, "See, I did something," than it is for the theists. But to me at least, going after the low-hanging fruit seems to be a bad target, because those are not the people who really need to have their minds changed. Those are not the people who are typically causing all of the harm that religious mind poison causes. It's going after the ignorant because it's an easy win, not because it gets you any closer to an ultimate goal. Because most of the people I typically see these street epistemologists going after, at least in my opinion, they believe for social reasons, not for religious ones. They profess to believe because they think it makes them look good to the neighbors, because they think that that's what society expects them to do, because they want to go along with the crowd, because they want to be seen as socially acceptable. These people typically have very little idea what it is they're supposed to believe. They might have a Bible sitting on the coffee table, but they've probably never read it. They might go to church once or twice a year, but they've got no real commitment to their religion. And in a lot of the videos on Anthony's channel, the people he's talking to had a very hard time articulating what they believed or why they believed it. So these people are really easy to go after. And for those people who believe primarily for social reasons, it's very easy to see them subconsciously shifting their views when they encounter someone who clearly doesn't agree with their beliefs. Wait, you don't believe that? Well, maybe I don't either. It's a mental defense mechanism. They're fishing for social acceptance, even from the stranger that they just met on the street. And 5 minutes after they talk to the street epistemologist, if they came across a strong theist, they're going to be going, well, of course I have no doubts. I've never had any doubts. For these people, it isn't about the belief, it's about the reaction that they get from other people about the belief. And in the West, I think these people make up the vast majority of supposed theists. People who are doing what they think they're supposed to be doing without having the slightest clue what that actually is. Personally, I think that once being religious stops being seen as an automatically good thing, the vast majority of these people will stop caring about professing belief. If it suddenly became socially preferable to be an atheist tomorrow, 75% of the population would say they were atheists. They'd be like rats fleeing a sinking ship. So I think these are entirely the wrong people to go after, because in the end, they're not the problem. Now, I had someone disagree with me and say that these people can indoctrinate their children into religion, so they are a valid target. But honestly, the children of vaguely religious people tend not to be more than vaguely religious themselves. And we see today that the youth of the religious are not any more likely to be religious. In fact, they're probably more likely to reject it. So I find that to be a pretty poor argument. No, the people that I think we need to go after are the ones who really take it seriously. The ones who actually cause demonstrable harm because of their religious beliefs. And the reason those are not the people that street epistemologists go after is because it's hard. Because those people will not react to 5 minutes of gentle questioning. They're not going to admit that they have doubts after tender prodding. Because these people are the people who not only really believe what they profess to believe, but they probably understand why. Now, those reasons are probably terrible, but they aren't going to fall apart because someone gives them a sideways glance. And because it's hard work to go after these people, if it's even possible to get the slightest crack in their theological armor at all, the atheist doesn't get the fast and constant emotional reinforcement that they're actually accomplishing something. So most of them will just give up in very short order. And that's not insulting atheists, because the very same thing is true of the religious. The religious really don't want to talk to atheists who know a lot about their religion, or who know a lot about science, or who know a lot about philosophy. They want to talk to the stupid people, the people who are very easy to convince with very poor arguments. So I'm not trying to insult anybody here. I'm just saying this is basic human nature. So please, I'm not saying don't do it. If that's what you want to do, knock yourself out. I'm just saying that the advocates of the street epistemology system need to stop pretending that they're doing search and rescue when they're really just doing the equivalent of helping little old ladies across the street. There's certainly a place for that, don't get me wrong. But at least be honest about what you're doing and stop acting like you're changing the world, because you're not. A fundamentalist Christian would eat these weekend warriors for breakfast. And maybe that happens, I don't know. See, the only videos that we're likely to see online, either on Anthony's channel or elsewhere, are likely the wins and not the losses. They're likely the ones that show the system working and not showing it falling apart. And that's not to say that anyone is being dishonest here. It's just basic human nature to present the best examples and subconsciously ignore the worst ones, especially when you have a book to sell. And who knows? I could be wrong. Maybe it always works. Maybe there has never once been a time when a believer has walked away from a conversation without admitting, honestly admitting, not just saying it to escape or for social reasons, that they aren't as strong in their beliefs and in their faith as they thought they were. Maybe that happens. But I will be honest, I haven't seen it work on someone like William Lane Craig. I haven't seen it work on someone like Ken Ham. I haven't seen it work on someone like Steven Anderson or Frank Turek or any other kind of super faithful, evangelical, fanatical theist. And those are the people that we need to deconvert. Those are the people who are killing their kids with faith-healing nonsense. Those are the ones that are strapping on bomb vests and murdering heathens. Those are the ones who are campaigning against equal rights and equal treatment for all. Those are the problems, and so long as those are the problems, those are the people that we need to be concerned with. Now, you're welcome to your small victories if that helps you get through the day, but I've got the larger picture in mind. I don't really care about a world without vague, pseudo-religious, socially conscious, barely theists who will go whichever way the wind blows. They will come over to our side when the time is right anyhow. I care about the vocal idiots who get on TV and say, let's murder the heretics, the ones who want to throw gays off roofs or deny them basic human rights. Those are the people we need to go after. And if you manage to deconvert one of those, then you should be proud of yourself. I'm not saying to ignore the small fry, but we need to set our sights higher. Humanity deserves better than settling for the lowest of the low-hanging fruit. And we need to be better than that.